Shawna Scott, who is the owner of Sex Siopa, which is Ireland's multi-award winning health and design focused online sex shop. Shawna started it to provide the kind of inclusive shopping experience she personally wanted but couldn't find in Ireland, and wanted to create a shop that sold only body safe sex toys and was welcoming and inclusive to people of all body types, genders, and sexualities. And to date, she's won multiple awards for her work. Shawna, thanks a
Thank
million.
you. Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me.
Tell me, how did you get in? How does one start a sex shop? Like what are the steps?
It's so what are the steps? Step one. Yeah, way back in the day, I was working in retail for over a decade at that stage, and I always knew that I wanted to run my own business. And this was something like I was on the kink scene at the time in Dublin, and myself and a friend were doing like market stalls where we were selling our own kind of like handmade BDSM stuff, like little pouring candles and everything, and like stuff that people could hit each other with, and having lots of fun doing that. And there was that summer I went home to like visit my family, and before I flew over, my vibrator had broken. And I was like, okay, while I'm over there, I'm gonna visit because we have like this really lovely, like female owned sex shop in Seattle called Babeland. And and I knew that that's kind of where I wanted to go because I wasn't really finding anywhere in Dublin that was resonating with me as like a customer, like especially like as a queer customer, as a female customer. Um, so the next time I was home, like it was a few weeks later, went into Babeland, and was just sort of blown away by how welcoming I'd been there a couple times before, like when I was in college. Um, but this was just such a reminder that we didn't really have anything like this in Ireland. And everyone, like all the staff, seemed to be really well educated on the stuff that they were selling. They were able to like make some fantastic recommendations. And I'm like, this is what I want. Like this is the kind of shop that we deserve in Ireland. And so I came home, and my friend that I was doing the kink markets with, I told her like I really want to start like a proper sex shop. And she was like, I don't have the time or the inclination to do that, but please, by all means, like I want this to be in the world, whether it's with me or without me. So she gave me her blessing, and I kind of went off and just like started it on my own on like a shoestring budget. The making sure that the toys were made from body safe materials was really important to me because like the sex toy industry as a whole is largely unregulated. So it's
What would
perfectly.
be body safe? Like what are we looking for here? What
So
should
we're
we
so we're looking
aware
so we're
of?
looking for toys made from materials that are known to be body safe, and like silicone, hard plastic, stainless steel, things that aren't going to like leach chemicals into your body. So
Right.
a lot of like the really cheap toys that you would see in kind of like a clamshell packaging might be made from like a PVC. Like a jelly dildo is typically made from like PVC.
PVC is
Um,
bad then.
PVC isn't necessarily bad when it's like in a solid form. It's what your pipes at home are made out of. Like a lot of stuff is made from PVC. But the difficulty with PVC as a sex toy material is you have to pump in so much plastic softener to get it to that wiggly state, that it
Mhm.
can it's not stable. So you might, if you've ever bought like a jelly plastic dildo, and and you've like left it under your bed for a few months, you might pull it out a few months later and it's kind of like half melted. That that's because like
Oh,
on a molecular level it's just unstable because it's like it's PVC, and PVC on its own is fine, but like all the plastic softeners to get it to that state are the issue. And so all that is leaking out into your body if you're using it. So
that is very interesting to know the ins and outs of the science. And can you tell me about the kink market?
yeah, they'd be like little like pop-up events and things. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen one advertised. So then I'm like, Is this a thing that I suppose you would only know about if you were on the scene already? Like, I don't see any signs up or social media about it, but
So generally, like, there's a social media site called FetLife. So if you're into kink and BDSM and that sort of thing, you'd go to FetLife. That would be where a lot of the event postings would be. And then you could like meet other people who were on the scene, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I suppose would it be your preference when you're meeting people for dating that you would meet people who were also kind of in the scene or maybe also in the queer scene, or what would you prefer? What's your kind of preference?
I don't know. Like, I don't really have a preference. I think yeah, like just having run a sex shop for as long as I've had, I don't really have a preference for people who are like on the scene or off the scene. Like, I've been off the scene for a really long time myself. I think it's just more, I'm more interested in if someone is more open and curious, and not just sexually, but just like in life generally. I like people who have like a bit of curiosity about them.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And I suppose it's been a good few years now. How long have you had Sex Shop set up?
Since the tail end of 2012. So it's been, yeah,
Wow.
almost 13 years. Yeah, over a decade.
And so when you're, I suppose, online dating, whatever, and you tell people that you're, the owner of a sex shop, what is the response?
So there's a couple of different responses. And I've stopped telling people what I do for a living.
Ah,
Um, yeah, but we'll get to that. So, when I was telling people what I did for a living, there it was either kind of shock, where they're like, "But you're such a lovely girl. What are you doing that?" Immediately, no.
ah.
Um,
Immediately, no.
immediately, no. And then you'd get other people who, might be a bit intimidated, not necessarily about me running a sex shop, but by me being like a business owner and being like independent.
Mm.
That puts a lot of guys off. Um, and then the third thing that I've noticed, like a pattern, is people get overly excited about it, and I think they fetishize me. That happens more often than not. That's been a real issue.
So the fetishizing, so when you say it, then do you start to notice the conversation then takes a turn,
Oh my
thinking
God.
that, oh, let's get into sexual stuff here.
Yeah, so the last date I went on was just before Christmas. I was going out grocery shopping, like trying to buy up all my stuff for Christmas dinner, and I was chatting with a fella, and he was like, "Hey, I'm on the road, like I'm driving from Mayo to Clare, but I'm stopping off in Galway just to do a bit of like work. Um, would you like to meet for coffee?" And I said, yeah, that would be fab. I'd really like that. And we didn't really have much time to chit chat. Like, we just kind of, we matched on Bumble, I think it was. And he was like, look, I can't really talk. I'm driving, but would you like to meet for coffee? And I said, yeah, that sounds great. I'm out and about anyway doing my errands before Christmas. So we meet up for coffee, and he asked me what I do for a living. And I said, I run an adult toy store. And and he was like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like to bring it up on dates, just because find that people tend to, again, like fetishize that aspect of my life. And he was like, oh no, I would never do that. I would never do that. Without missing a beat, he was like, well, what's your best selling men's toy? And bear in mind, we are in a crowded cafe. It is 2 days before Christmas. There are families, there are children around. And I was like, look, I don't really feel comfortable like talking about this. If you want to talk about this later, maybe we can chat about it like over text or something. And he was like, well, do you hear the girls having a conversation behind us? And I was like, well, no. And he was like, see, no one can hear us, so it's fine. I'm like, already, yeah, no, you're trying to like push boundaries with me, so
Sure.
no. And And so like I was like, look, I'll text you the link. I'm not gonna describe it, but I'll text you the link. And so I just kind of like went on my phone and I texted the link to like my best-selling men's toy. And he opened it up in the text message and he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to use that on me. I met this man
Ah.
20 minutes previous.
Like
Like,
you literally pointed out in black and white to him that people generally fetishize this aspect of my life when I bring it up, and you basically told him, don't fucking do that. And
yeah.
then he went and did it. Like, what's wrong with them?
I don't know. I don't know. But this is the sad part. So I after that I stopped telling people what I do for a living. I like I'll make up like a not a fake career, a career that's like slightly adjacent. I say like I work in health and wellness, which is true. I do. And and it doesn't seem to matter because I'm still finding that as I'm chatting to people, whether I get to a date or not, they will still bring up sex with me before we even get to like a date. They'll still bring it up. I had a situation literally an hour before I got on this call with you, Orange. I was chatting with a fella and I was asking him what he's doing for the weekend because we have the heat wave. He's like, oh, I might go camping. I was like, oh, that sounds fab. He was like, what are your plans? I'm like, I don't really have any plans because again, like it's going to be weather dependent, but I'd love to go swimming. And he was like, great, maybe we can hang out. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go swimming on a first date, but maybe we could go for coffee. And instead of this weekend, how about we do it tomorrow because I don't want to interrupt your camping plans. He says, that sounds fantastic. Where would you like to go for coffee? I gave him two options that are kind of close to my area. He says, which one's closest to you? And I said, this one, option A is closest to me. And he said, fabulous. I don't mind coming in from town to make it more convenient for you. I'm like, oh my gosh, green flag, amazing. We love. And then he was like immediately after that was like, and then afterwards we can go back to yours. And I said,
Knew it.
I'm sorry, I don't do hookups. And his response was, would you make an exception? It
Ah,
it doesn't matter. I can't believe that it's that sad that it doesn't matter if I tell them what I do for a living or not. I will still get dehumanized no matter what.
you saying already that, like, I don't think I want to go swimming on a first date should clearly have been enough for him to be like, okay, this girl, but she just wants to go for coffee. Like it is actually a date. Why would he even
Yeah.
go there? It's so I don't know how they can go straight from like just chatting nicely, trying to get to know each other, arranging a nice first date, and then it's like, then let's have sex.
Yeah.
How does the mind boggles like?
And and the thing is like I'll chat about it with people or like I'll bring it up online. I don't like to air my dirty laundry too much, but sometimes when there's like a funny dating story, I can't help myself. And and they'll be like, "Oh, well, you were chatting to this person on Field. What did you expect? Oh, you're chatting to this person on Tinder. What do you expect?" But it's also happening to me on Hinge. It's happened to me on Bumble. And so I go through these cycles where I'll re-download everything. I'm like, look, I'm just gonna see who's out there and just really give it a go, like give it the old college try, and I'll hyper fixate on like looking for dates for like 2 weeks. I'm in that hyper fixation right now. But I'm after that last chat, I'm like, no, delete everything, take it all down.
Oh, have you
We'll try
deleted
it.
them all? Are they all gone?
Oh, they will be by tonight. Yeah, I can't anymore. I've chatted to probably 30 people, 30 or 40 people since Christmas, and it's never gone anywhere. It's never gotten to the date phase because I'm just like I've got such my radar for bullshit is a finely tuned instrument at this
At this
stage.
stage?
Yeah.
How many apps were you on? It was what you say, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and Field. The four, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I went on Field. And at this stage, then I was thinking, so the dating wasn't going anywhere. and I thought I'm going to get myself a fuck buddy. So I decided I would go onto field where I thought, so like in my innocent little mind, I had always thought that, Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble is for dating, even
Mm.
though I know people say, and even you said it there, like Tinder for hookups or whatever, but I was on the three of those to find a man. And then I went on to field then to try and find a nice friends with benefit situation.
Yeah.
But straight away, like the men were like immediately, and I think I had something in my bio about like I'm new, like ease me into it, kind of a thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to start launching into, yeah, like come on over to my house, like I don't know you at all. In the end, I actually went on one coffee date from field
Mm.
in the end,
Mm.
and like nothing else. And then I thought this is actually too intense for me. Like I
Yeah.
can't even get a ride.
Field now is so much different than it was like a few years ago. I was introduced to Field by someone I was dating at the time. Like 4 years ago. Yeah, it was 2021. It was just after I had come out of a long-term relationship. And I, I was out in the dating world. I was seeing someone and they were like, um, we weren't exclusive or anything. And they were like, this seems to be the app that all of my you know queer non-monogamous people are using. You might find it better than some of the other apps as well. So I went on it and yeah, like met some nice people, had some bad experiences too, like all the apps, but overall it seemed to be generally positive. Like there's still some people that I met on Field 4 years ago that I'm still really good friends with and close with to this day, but the demographic seems to have changed in the last couple of years so dramatically, where it seems like they've told all the fellas on Tinder, if you want just pure sex, go
That's where
to
you
Field,
go.
because that's what it's for. Because now you have like so many Irish guys that just aren't even trying. They're just like putting up a photo of themselves, like the worst photo that they could have possibly taken of themselves, and just said, like anyone,
Dominant. Like
huh?
they're like I feel like every fella on that like are just
Oh,
like dominant, looking for a
are
submissive.
dominant. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and that's the other thing. And then the fellas who are submissive won't show their faces. So
Yes, yeah,
I'm seeing kind of patterns emerging here. But yeah, when I see a guy who's like not put any effort into his Field profile and just says like dominant, um, that just tells me what they're looking for is a service provider, and I'm not that. And if they do want that, they should be paying for it, not trying to just like put in zero effort to get the ride. Like that's not how I operate. It's so I find it like so dehumanizing. Like the first part of friends with benefits is friends. You should be able
yeah,
to, like, if you are going to have an FWB situation going, you should be friends with that person and want to hang out with them outside of riding.
yeah.
And I think that's lost on a lot of people.
Like
I was
the last
chatting.
thing I wanted was to get some random fella who I didn't like calling up here for a ride and be like, what the fuck? Yeah, can we not build any sort of relationship at all so that we're
Yeah.
both like, oh yeah, like maybe we can look forward to this. But no.
It's like they see Field as Deliveroo for fucking.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, I'm just so not about that. And this is the ironic bit about being like a sex shop owner, that I just want to be loved. I just like I'm so romantic, and I find dating really, really hard. I was chatting with a girlfriend of mine. We went to the Nine Inch Nails gig a few weeks ago, and she lives in Paris. She moved there in 2022, and she was saying the difference is sort of night and day. Now you are passive, like French guys don't have a sense of humor. I think that must just be like European guys full stop, because I've heard the same thing about like Dutch lads as well. Very, very little humor. The crack just isn't there, but they're so much more earnest and they will tell you if they like you, where I feel like Irish guys, there's um there's such a fear of vulnerability, and because of that, it makes it very difficult to be in a relationship with them. I have found. Now there are exceptions to the rule. I have had some really lovely relationships with Irish guys, but generally I find in dating Irish guys, yeah, there's that intense fear of vulnerability and they want to turn everything into a joke.
And sorry, are you dating only guys or are you bi pan? Also, is it monogamous or polyamorous? You mentioned it earlier.
So, I am like I'm bi. I haven't been on a date in a woman with a woman for a very long time. Like probably 10 years.
Oh,
Um I would like to. But again, it's like I live out in Galway now. Like I lived in Dublin for 15 years. And much, much larger queer scene. You come to Galway and it's so much small. Like the population is so much smaller anyway. The population of Galway is actually the same population of the town that I grew up in the States, which I would have considered a small town.
no.
So it's a lot of farmers and teachers and people who work in med tech, which there's nothing wrong with.
Right,
um,
yeah, probably not maybe the people that you'd be going for potentially. And what are you, would you have your net cast wide? Like, would it be going as far as Dublin, or like, would you date as far as Dublin, or are you kind of thinking sticking closer to Galway?
oh girl, further. I've set my hinge to the UK. Like I've set my profiles to like London, I've set them to Paris because I've got friends in like both cities, and I live kind of equidistant between Shannon and Knock airports. So, like
Okay, handy.
traveling.
Fair play. Well, that's what we like
Yeah.
to hear, people who are open, because a lot of people like would be like, "Oh no, I'm not traveling." But I always had my distance set very far because I was like, I can't really rely on the fact that the love of my life just happens to also be in Dublin. Like I can't
Yeah.
rely on that.
Yeah.
He actually
I
happened to be just down the road.
There is there's like a couple, they're like couples influencers that I really love, and I try not to get like too deep into like the parasociality of it all. But Levi, Coralyn, and William, do you follow them?
No, I looked them up now. But yes,
She's
carry on.
incredible. So she's an ex OnlyFans model, and she's engaged to this like gorgeous, gorgeous guy who is like their entire platform is just him making her dinners. Because he loves cooking, and people get so upset by it. They're like, well, what does she do for him? And she's constantly saying like, we need to kind of flip the script a little bit, because if I was like Nara Smith or Ballerina Farms or any of those like trad wife influencers that's cooking from scratch for their entire family, people just see that as kind of like a normal thing. But when you see, and nobody asks them like, what does your husband's do for you? The second you see a man caring for and loving a woman in a really vulnerable way, immediately the questions start coming up like, well, what does she do for him? And I really, really love that. There's a few of those kinds of couples online. Again, I try not to get like too deep into it because then I'm like, oh well, I'm never going to find a relationship like that. Um, but it is nice to see them talking about their relationships and how they met. I know in Levi and William's case, she was living on they're both from Canada, and she was living on the other side of the country and had to set her parameters to like Toronto, to where there's like a much higher population, and then just get really, really strict with herself with what she was willing to accept in terms of like a partner. And I'm kind of on that as well. Like I'm so done accepting like less than the bare minimum. I'm so done accepting
Yeah.
the bare minimum.
You
I
need to have your boundaries and stick to them. And when you start letting them slip, then like you're just delaying things, finding the right person for you if you keep letting your boundaries slip and say, "Oh, I'll give him another chance." So maybe he
yeah.
is all right, you know.
Yeah. So I've never had that problem. I've never had that problem with women. Women and non-binary people, I seem to have never had that problem with. It's interesting. Like the only time I ever have to talk about boundaries in terms of like what I will or will not accept in a relationship is with straight cis men. I like I have my I because I was thinking about this recently just in terms of like all the really horrible conversations that I've had with men on dating apps. And so I put like this is my little vision board if I am going to date anyone, quite frankly, but like specifically with men. So this is like if we're in the Love Island villa, I'm coming in, they ask me what my type on paper is. This is what I'm saying. Autistic Jim Himbo energy. Wants to cook for me in a crop top and slutty little short shorts. I am terrible at cooking. If anyone's looking for like a trad wifey, they are not getting that in me. I am not a good cook, but goddamn, I love to eat. So if I can find someone who like loves to cook, fantastic. If they want to cook for me in a slutty little crop top and like short shorts, even better. Mwah. It's like and it's not even the slutty little crop top and short shorts like specifically. It's like that's the energy I want them to
Fun
imbue.
and open and like not immediately no to everything and funny little suggestions. Yeah.
Just the a willingness to be silly. Again, it goes back to that like vulnerability piece. It's like a willingness to be vulnerable and like look a little silly and like look a little slutty for the person you're dating. We love that. Must love animals because I have a dog and he is the love of my life. He is my biological son. I will not hear anyone say anything
That is a
else.
fact. A fact.
That is a fact. Also, I live out in the country and like my neighbors have animals. I am soon to have like calves out in my field that's like my neighbor's cousin's calves that like needed a field. So like I'm a culture
Same.
now. I can't like you gotta love animals. Um cannot be politically apathetic. That's really important to me. Um that's another thing that I see quite a lot on dating apps is like people saying that they're like moderate or not political. And I'm like, in 2025, oh, it understands and has developed their sense of style. Because to me, I find like there is nothing sexier to me than someone who like understands who they are as a person and can express that through how they present themselves. And just, people who dress well, I find really, really sexy. But like, it's not even like I'm wearing an expensive, like, whatever. Like, I don't go for like expensive clothes I could care less about. I'm a vintage girly through and through. I love a thrift. But it's that understanding yourself, understanding your body, and just yeah, how you present yourself via fashion to the world.
Yeah.
I think can tell you a lot about someone and about their own confidence. And again, bringing it back, I think all of this kind of ties into like a sense of vulnerability. I saw a video on TikTok recently where it was like a guy dressed a bit, hipstery, was in like on the streets of Belfast asking just random lads like, what do you think of my outfit? And they're throwing around the F slur and everything. And they're all dressed the same. They've all got that same uniform, that lads kind of uniform.
Yeah.
And I want someone who is not afraid to break out of that and is their own person. And
There's
so
actually
that's
a guy
really,
that come across a lot. I don't remember, I can't remember his name on TikTok, and he has really cool style, but all of his comments are always from men calling him the F slur and
yeah,
everything else. And were you raiding your mother's wardrobe and blah blah blah. And he, in fairness, replies to the comments, and he owns it, and he kind of slags them
yeah.
back or whatever. But like, it's terrible. Like, why do people care? Let people be themselves. Let them wear what they want.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have an ex who is from Athlone and he's an actor, and he was telling me when he left Athlone to study acting, everyone in the town was like, is he a bit like it's just it's not yeah, anything outside of the norm. I think with a lot of Irish people, it's kind of like either you have notions or you're you're a bit gay. And you know what? Some of us are. And that's fine. And then
Especially now with men and like men's mental health and everything. But the men who are suffering with their mental health, it's other men who are not helping them. Women
yeah,
are so supportive of
they're
men's mental health.
terrible to each other, and then we have to pick up the slack because they're like men are just being awful to each other. Yeah, I hate this. I hate the patriarchy for everyone. Um, I hate that for us as a society. And then finally, someone who's as comfortable going to the theater as they are going to like a wrestling show or watching, a stoner comedy in bed. I'm really highbrow, lowbrow, and I kind of appreciate that in a partner. Though I've been told that going to wrestling shows and being into like vintage cars and stuff is like weird for a girl. Like I again was chatting to someone the other day who was like, "Oh, you're into horror films. That's weird for a girl." And I'm like, "Well, this isn't
Is
gonna
it?
work."
I watched WWF when I was a child. I'd get up really early on a Saturday morning before it changed into WWE. And that
Yeah.
was then like The Rock and Rikishi, Kane, all of those were in it. And like I loved it. And now when I think about it, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Now I didn't continue that into my adulthood, but I know loads of people who do enjoy it. I think it's a funky hobby and things to be into. But similar to what you said there now, I've never heard highbrow, lowbrow. I like that and I'm going to start using it. But I used to say with a friend of mine that the two of us were looking for a man who was a, an equal mixture of crack and culture
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
so that he could
Yeah.
do it all.
I have a friend who is a Harvard graduate, like, and she's like a theater director, and I'm obsessed with her. And she's one of the most incredible, intelligent, just gorgeous people that I know. And she got me into Love Island. And like, if you go to her house, she loves her like women's mag, so she's got like okay and hello and stuff on her coffee table. And I'm like, you literally graduated from Harvard. And she's like, highbrow, lowbrow, girl. Like you need a bit of both.
She's owning it.
You can't just be like one or the other. I like a well-rounded person. That's
And
yeah.
to bring it back to your experiences, because when I put up that the four-part podcast series, Filthy John, you had
Yes.
responded to it and you responded with a good few Instagram stories of your own because you had been through a similar experience. Can you
Oh,
share a bit of that?
yeah. So that was like a number of years ago. And I'm only seeing more of this carry on happening like as the years go on. But back then, I think um I hadn't really heard it as much. I think this was like slightly before the Facebook groups, like Are We Dating the Same Guy really took off or even existed. I can't even remember. God, it was 2020. But in 2017, I was seeing a fella for a few months and I kind of got vibes that he was seeing other people, but he knew that I wasn't seeing anybody else. And like, he wouldn't necessarily call me his girlfriend, but very much the way he acted towards me was as if I was his girlfriend. And after a few months, I was like, oh, the vibes are off. some mutual friends of ours were telling me he's not a great guy. You really shouldn't be dating him. You deserve so much better. And I was like, agreed. I don't I don't really like this feeling that I'm getting in my gut off of this person. And then in 2020, I was approached by one of those mutual friends again and said, there's someone who would like to speak with you. And it was someone that he was dating at the same time that I was dating him. And through that, we found more people. We talked about it on Twitter. We kind of called him out on Twitter, and through that found more and more women. And we had never gone through this before. Like none of us had. This has never happened to any of us, and so there was like a vetting process to figure out like who was legitimate and like who was just trying to get like gossip off of us. And we ended up, there was like 30 women in a WhatsApp group. We eventually got like a Discord together, and then some of those women kind of filtered off. They didn't feel like they needed the group anymore and they filtered off. But we still have a core group of about 10 or 12 women in like a WhatsApp group, just through going through the same thing with this person. And they're some of the loveliest friendships I have.
Friends.
Yeah, we're still friends. And a couple years after lockdown, it was 2022 or 2023? 2022, yeah, because it was just before I moved to Galway. We had a party, and because a lot of us hadn't met, like we didn't know each other, like some of us live in different countries and stuff, and it was so nice to get together and celebrate each other. And how cool, because I think one of the gals in the Filthy John series said something that we've always said, which was like, Jesus, he was an awful person, but he had fantastic taste in women. And that was absolutely the truth with our group. Like he really picked wonderful, wonderful women to victimize. And I think that was part of it, was like people were asking us, how did he manage to even have a day job? Because like it would have been a full-time job just trying to keep all of us, because there was a lot of us that were living in Dublin at the time, and keeping us separated from each other, and a lot of us had like mutual friends in common. So like how he was able to keep all of us separated, it would have been a full-time job. So our understanding was like he was getting so much free labor off of us to like help him do his work. That had to be the way, because the amount of time and effort that a lot of us spent helping him out with his like life admin.
I thought you were going to say he was in like the creative industry and you were actually kind of helping him with his job. Is that
yeah.
or
No,
just...
he was in the creative industry. That was it. Like I don't want to like again go into too much detail about like who he was or anything. I'm sure you could look it up if you Googled it. But he was in a creative industry, and he had a whole rake of women doing jobs for him to help him out with his creative career.
Amazing. Like the balls that these men have, and like how many girls do you know, like say at the same time that you were dating him, he was dating like 5, 10 other people at the same time.
At the same time, because we had spreadsheets. we had like spreadsheets, and we had because we wanted to figure out like who he was dating at certain periods and like where the overlaps were. Like Jesus, if you're gonna date smart women, don't fuck us over, because like the spreadsheets will come out. We were so organized after that. I think like around the time period that he was seeing me, there was probably like four or five other women on the go. There was one in particular that I was really, really sad about, because there was one time when he brought me home, and then he was like, I'm really like after we had hooked up, he was like, I'm really sorry. I gotta go. I gotta Zoom call a friend who's living over in the States, and he went and Zoom called this other girl who he was seeing after he brought me home that night. And so
Yeah.
that was really, really hurtful to both of us.
Kind of just like a feeling of used and abused there. Like he got what he wanted and now he went off and he's entertaining somebody else.
Yeah, while I was in his house. So it was,
Oh my
yeah.
God. You were in his house. Oh my God.
I was in his place, yeah. And he was like, I've gotta do like a Zoom call, or it wasn't Zoom, it was Skype at the time.
Do we know now? Is he still up to his old tricks? Do we know what he's up to?
I have no idea. I don't think he lives in the country anymore.
Oh, well, he's probably victimizing some other women somewhere else.
Probably, yeah. He probably burnt so many bridges here that he had to go to another country where no one knew his
Okay, start
name.
there. That's
Yeah.
probably what Filthy John is going to do too. It's mad how, like, when I put up that story, loads of women got in touch with me, and loads of people did know exactly who this man was, but
Mm,
loads of women with their own stories of men doing similar things. And I'm like, this is
yeah.
just crazy. They're everywhere.
But also, like, imagine like having the audacity to think that you could get away with that in Ireland of all places. Like you're only and I'm saying this as an American blow-in, like you're only 3 degrees of separation from somebody's mom, you know? This is terrible. I'm so so sorry. This is just going to turn into like Shawna bitches about men for an hour. But I nearly went on a date last week. Very very nearly went on a date last week. Had it all arranged. We were going to like meet up for like a pint in town or something. And this guy texted me in the morning and was like, "Oh, I'm sick. I'm not going to go to the gym today." Because the whole thing was like he was going to go to the gym and then meet me at the pub like round the corner from his gym. And I was like, "Oh, well, we can rain check. That's okay." And oh my God, this man was like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's just a throat infection." And I'm like,
Um,
yeah, no, like I have people in my life who are immunocompromised. I'm not gonna meet you for a date. And he was like, really, like it's okay. I work out a lot, excuse me, and I swim a lot, so I don't get sick that often. And it's just the lack of consideration. I was like, yeah, I don't care if you don't get sick that often. It's more like me. Like I was like, I had a throat infection 3 months ago that nearly sent me to the hospital. like,
just a
um,
throat infection. Like, it's an infection, hun. Like, don't be bringing that here.
yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, don't worry, it's not COVID. I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't think that it was, but now that we're on the subject, like, how vaccinated are you? And he was like, yeah, I think I got the vaccination. I'm like, you think you got the
Thanks.
vaccine? So yeah,
That's so funny though. Sorry, when did this happen?
last week.
Last week.
Yeah,
But sorry, are people still talking about the COVID vaccination now? I love the vaccination and
yeah,
I but love it. My mother is a doctor, so like I
yeah,
didn't have much of a choice in the thing. Now,
yeah.
funnily enough, my dad, who I don't speak to, is a conspiracy theorist.
Oh
And
no.
that's, I know, hilarious that I am the product of these two. So when all this came up about COVID and whatever, and he was hooting and tooting on Facebook to
Yeah,
all of his little followers about how it's all a scam and whatever. And he was rocking into my granny, his mother, in the nursing home without his mask on and refusing to put
yeah.
it on. And so, like, the family were like, what the fuck are you
What are
doing?
you doing?
But
Yeah,
then obviously my mom then is, of course, she was like, have you booked in here to come into the GP surgery and, get your thing. So I was like, well,
yeah,
luckily I was on board anyway, but I had no choice.
yeah. It's funny. Like the reason I bring it up with people is because I do see so many people with their profiles that have themselves set as like unvaccinated.
Oh, what? Where is that on it? On which date now?
It's on Hinge, it's on Bumble, and I think it's on Tinder as well.
Like
You
one
have to
of
go
the
in the drop down menus.
stop it. No
Yeah.
way that they've
Yeah.
created that.
The amount of people that oh, and then the other thing is I see a lot of guys doing like the okay symbol like that. And to me, like that. And to me, that is a like that's from back in like was it 2016, 2017? When was the tiki torch protest thing? To me, that's a white supremacy symbol.
Oh,
And and I it's not and I see it a lot in like Irish profiles.
so
And so I'm like,
I I don't know what the tiki torch thing is. What
oh, it was in like a far right
was it?
yeah, it was a far right protest in the States that resulted in the death of of like a BLM activist. Yeah, it was really it
No,
was
I w-
it was in response to the Black Lives Matter protest. You had all these white supremacist guys like dressed in like khaki chinos, holding like tiki torches and saying like they will not replace us. So super fucking gross. But that okay symbol, that was their like little secret sign to like let other white supremacists know that they were white supremacists. And I
I don't think that is a
do
thing here. I'm actually just thinking about I have an ex-boyfriend who's from Tala and him and his
yeah.
friends would put that in every message, nearly every text message. They were just fucking flat out. And I know lads from different places around. I actually just think it's like a, like kind of Tala, Blanche, Clondalk, and kind of the lads, like yeah, yuck
Yeah.
bro, yuck bros, that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. Could you ask
aesthetic.
them for me? Because I'm like I'm really like I'm dead curious, and I think I'm just like I'm super sensitive to the fact that we have like so many far right protests
Yeah,
now,
well,
and a
yes.
lot of that rhetoric is being imported from like the States and the UK. So I'm like, oh God, don't let it come here.
Yeah, that's interesting actually. If we have any yuck bros listening to this podcast, can you let us know? Are
Text
you white
in, let me
supremacists?
know.
What did you do with your man in the end anyway, with the throat infection? Did you just say like, no,
Oh,
goodbye?
I like I told him like straight out, I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. You don't seem particularly considerate of like my health. And he was like, what? Like just sent a gift back that was just like, what? And then unmatched me on Hinge, I think it was. So yeah.
R.I.P.ie. Good luck to him. Best of
Yeah.
luck to him. Just for anyone interested, what is the most popular male toy?
No, podcast. This is the appropriate place to be talking about what my best-selling toys are. Not so much on a first date, but and I have to add a caveat here because my most popular toys tend to change over the months and years, just based on trends and whatever I'm promoting at that time. But definitely since last Christmas, the most popular penis toy would be the S Vibe Evo because I showed it on the Two Johnnies podcast back at Christmas time. We did a late sex toy show. And that was one that I was promoting. And since then, that one has just taken off as being like a really, really popular penis toy. And the reason I love it is because not only does it vibrate the penis, but it stays in contact. So it has kind of like a spiraled swirl at the end that unfurls when you stroke with it. So it always, always stays in contact with the penis. And they also have one for people with vaginas called the S Vibe Curve. And they also have the travel version, the S Vibe GZ. The way that the S Vibe Curve works is that when you insert it inside yourself, there is that same spiral that's on the Evo, but it stays in contact with the clitoris. So the deeper you go, the more the spiral's going to unfurl. But again, it has a motor on the inside of the spiral, so it always stays in contact with the clitoris. And I love this brand. They're a small they're a small company based in Europe, and they're a family-owned company. So you're also supporting, not only are you having great orgasms, but you're also supporting another small European business, which we love.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Shawna. I think you should have a podcast yourself. Cracking hell.
I used to have a podcast myself.
Bring it back. Resurrect.